Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm Warren Meredith, and on the show today, music lover and promoter Chris Gaines. Hi, everybody. I'm Warren, and welcome to All Worn Out. We are joined today by the very awesome Chris Gaines, and he represents a great show opportunity for any independent band in the area, and I would highly advise reaching out to Chris and trying to work with him. It's called Barn Burner Events. Is that correct, Chris?
Barn Burner Events. Yep, Saturday Night Barn Burner Events in Kingston, Ontario.
And many years ago, now it feels like, anyways, I first met Chris through Amherst radio station, which you were volunteering at during the time. And I remember I started harassing you and sending you all kinds of songs and messages, and but you were very receptive. You weren't mean to me about it at all. And
Nope.
And all these years later, I'm happy to say, I mean, we've played several Barn Burner shows. They were all awesome.
I think over the last 3 years, you've played, what, 4 of them, have you not? Something like that? 3 or 4.
Yeah, something like that. And I mean, everyone is different, but always fun. So Chris, I want to go back in time here. Where were you born?
I think it was a hospital. Hamilton. I was born in Hamilton.
Hamilton, Ontario. Okay. Yeah. And did you grow up there?
No, we moved. The family moved from Hamilton when I was really young. And basically, I grew up in Ottawa in the West End. I know the Ottawa area quite well.
All right, cool. My parents also did the whole grow up in the West End of Ottawa thing, and they tell me stories about how like the IKEA used to just be this big field, and her brothers used to be in like go catch snakes and put on little shows for their friends with these animals that they'd caught in those areas.
Yeah. I know the area.
So what high school did you go to then?
Depends on the year. I went to a
boy,
few.
were you a bad boy?
I was adventurous. Let's put it that way.
Adventurous?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes for great podcast stories right there, Chris.
Yeah, I grew up a good Catholic boy. So I went to, my first year was at St. Pius on Fisher Avenue. And then I went to Ottawa Tech for a little while, downtown, which was interesting. Then moved back to the West End and went to J.S. Woodsworth and Maryville High School. So, yeah, I did the circuit.
I'm near Maryville High School now, and every day at 2:25, I really hate those little kids because they back up the traffic so horribly around Maryville. It's already so bad. But anyways,
but they're not looking at the traffic. They're looking at their phone.
Yeah, they don't care about the cars. That's for sure. That's definitely for sure. So what music were you into during these high school years where you were going around?
Well, back then, let's just call it, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but my first concert that I ever went to was Queen in 1977. My sister
Awesome.
My mother was complaining I was a little too young. I was 14 at the time, and my sister brought me. So I listened to Queen. Everybody at that age in the 70s listened to Kiss. I got into Judas Priest, and I was always a Rush fan. Always a Rush fan. So it just kind of progressed from there. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, that's epic that during that time those bands were likely all playing live, and I mean that's pretty fantastic. Did you pick up a guitar? Did you pick up an instrument during those years at all?
I did try to play a little guitar. I tinkered a little bit. I did a few lessons. It was someone a friend of mine knew and were taking lessons, and I picked it up. I used to play it left-handed. and I always got, sorry, excuse me, I always got crap. My dog bugging me again. I always
Oh,
got
that's
crap.
okay.
I always got crap, and everybody was telling me, my parents, my sister especially, was telling me I was playing it backwards, turn it around, turn it around. And it's like, it was awkward, and it was awkward, and it just kind of sucked the fun out of it. So I never really picked it up to say that I play guitar. I always plinked around and tinkered, but that's about it, really.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've never been good at guitar myself, but I mean, it's a difficult instrument. All
Yeah.
instruments are difficult, but I mean, guitar is definitely a tricky one. So during these years, you were growing a passion for this music. Now, let's fast forward again. When did you decide you wanted to promote shows?
Oh my. It's basically a spinoff from my radio show on Island Radio. At the time when we met was 92.1, and they changed frequency. It's 101.3. So developing relationships with band members and bands themselves, I would play their music on my show and get feedback and create relationships. And it was just an expansion of that, basically, that I felt that there were a lot of people that needed to hear these guys that really, I had an audience. I was privileged with people that actually listened to my show. So I figured, let's showcase this. Let's spin it off. And I came to an agreement with one of the club owners here in Kingston, and it kind of took off from that 3 years ago.
So, how many bands do you think you've worked with now?
Oh, wow. The course of 3 years, I did 7, 9, 10. This will be going on 14 shows coming up September. So 3 bands per show.
That's
So
fantastic.
it's, I think I've turned down more bands, unfortunately, because the docket gets full. I'm sorry, I got a full boat, and I've committed to people, and as much as I would love to have others, there's not enough room. I just think there's not enough time in a Saturday night for bands, like having 4 bands or 5 bands on a bill. You have to start way, way early for everybody to get a decent set. So to get a decent set time for people to actually hear you and showcase the band, you need a 3-band bill is what works for me the best.
I think it works best for everybody. I think once you get into the 4-band bill, that first band, they're definitely not going to get any sound check. They're definitely, you know, it's interesting. The more bands you pile on, the more work for the sound man as well, of course.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily add to the night because you're adding to time where there's not a band on stage and they're changing over, where you could just have the band playing, you know?
Yeah.
And
You're
like,
taking set time. You're taking set time away. But also, if you've got 4 bands or 5 bands on the bill, the first band or 2 are basically when there's nobody there or people are just arriving. So there really isn't a set audience. If you can have a comfortable door open time and bands start at 9, then you've already got people in the seats, and there's an audience for everybody.
yeah, absolutely. And you had some great bands from the Toronto area, some great bands from the Ottawa area. They're not all from one place. And I
Right.
think it was great because it helped Taming Sorry make relationships with some other bands that we had heard about, but we never met before, like Nighttime Drive and bands of the like it, it helps build those relationships.
Yeah.
And also bands from Ottawa and from Toronto, etc. Like we all need to get out there. We all need to hit the road and play for people who aren't our family members, our friends. We need to get out there. So it's been very appreciated, I know, by everyone that you've given this Kingston opportunity. Because I was talking to Rohan of Resist the Throne last night, and I was telling him that his experience at the Mansion, because they just played the Mansion, and it was their first Kingston show. And I said, my experience at the Mansion was not good. Like I said, like my first couple times there was empty. You know what I mean? And I went down and I tried to get the Queen students to come upstairs, and you know, told them I'll take the cover off, like I don't care, and not even that worked. But Rohan said like that they had a good turnout, and that like he plays more metal, but it's pretty melodic metal. Like I really enjoy it, and that's because I'm into that, more into melody. Like I can't get into really hard thrashing stuff, unfortunately,
Right.
but I've
Right.
tried.
The one thing I cannot get into is what I call Cookie Monster lyrics for that thrash metal.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You can't, and yeah, I cannot get into that. I call it Cookie Monster singing. So, yeah.
Fair enough. You know, everybody has their tastes. We all
Yeah.
have our flavors and our own boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with any music to me. It's just like whatever suits your fancy kind of deal.
Yeah. I
And I
listen
know
to a
that's the
lot
same
of
for
different
you.
types. I listen to a lot of different types of music. There's very little that I really can't stomach. Like I can't listen to any length of time and like rap music. I think that's talentless. You can't it's for people
Well,
that can't
listen,
sing. It's for people that can't sing and play instruments.
we're gonna have some. Hopefully, we're gonna have some hip hop artists come on this show.
With the exception of Ornate, they played one of my shows in Kingston and they put on a fascinating show. But these guys
Yeah, it was
actually
brilliant,
play
wasn't it?
instruments. Yeah, it's not karaoke to a record. He's actually
Well,
got musicians playing with him.
I hear you. I hear you. And again, everyone's entitled to love or hate whatever music. And gosh, like I was saying last night, I've taken the hate before, so it's all good. Like I don't think anyone minds it, like in the industry, and especially if they're having success. I have a hard time believing people are like, oh gosh, I can't handle all these negative comments, even though I'm paying my bills right now by singing words into a microphone or whatever it is, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I would just say like I endorse all art. Like it's all got to come out. And I mean, listen, was Yoko Ono hilarious when she was doing her stuff on, you know, to John and
Making
gosh,
ears
what's his
bleed.
yeah, and Chuck Berry, like, you know, when she's doing that to Chuck Berry, it's art, and I can appreciate it now, 40 years later. But at the time, I don't think he felt that way, you
I
know.
think it's just
So,
screaming. I still think it's just screaming in a microphone. I just like
but the faces that
unintelligible.
she made him make, like, you'll never see Chuck Berry go like this on stage. Like he wanted to take her out, you know, and
Yeah.
so I just think there's a place for everything. I mean, except for Will Smith getting slapped in the face or slapping, you know, Chris Rock in the face. I don't think there's any place for silly violence against
Yeah.
comedians or musicians. I think that's just absolutely absurd because entertainers are just going up there to try and give you some dopamine. I mean,
Yeah. If you're going to a comedy show to complain, then you're at the wrong show.
oh gosh, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, I get it if you're gonna heckle, and it's like you're gonna heckle because you know you're gonna get it back, and you're looking to have some fun with that. I mean, okay. I mean, fine. You're gonna
Yeah.
get probably bit real good by them
Oh,
because
you
that's
will.
what they're good at, you know. But for those people who get drunk and then get offended at shows, I mean, then they end up on YouTube the next day, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. They do. They do end up. Steve Hostetter's good at that, and
Okay, so oh, keep going.
he's going to be playing in Ottawa, from what I hear, soon. Doing a show with Steve Hofstetter.
Okay.
He's got a YouTube channel where he just rips hecklers apart at all of his comedy shows. Oh yeah, it's really funny.
That sounds pretty epic. I need to get out more. I am going to have a comedian on here, Lewis Hill, who I used to work with many years ago, and he's getting bigger and bigger. So I'm excited to bring him on. And then there's a few other comedians I want to bring on the show as well.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's so many sweet artistic perspectives to get into and think about how they're digging into things. I mean, you can attest to this. Here in Canada, it's grassroots. It's what we're doing. You know, even I would say going up the radio chain. I mean, it's all about connecting with individuals and possibly shaking their hand and saying, "Hey, how are you? can we make something happen here? And that's all I would say. I mean, I definitely would, even though you're saying you've had to turn away a lot of musicians, I would highly recommend people reach out to Chris and bother him, because he's a
It's
good guy. I
unfortunate.
know.
It's unfortunate because I'm really only doing one show a month. I took the summers off. I learned the hard way the first year I did that. Everybody's out of town. June, July, and August. Everybody's gone to the cottage. There's festival season. Everybody's outside doing stuff. Nobody wants to come inside to a club and pack the joint with a bunch of other sweaty people. So I take the summers off, June, July, and August. So my next show is in September. I'm looking to change the format slightly, if I may let you know. During the changeover, like I said, I like the shows to be interactive. So I will get up between bands and talk to the audience a little bit and give away prizes. There's a raffle jar that everybody gets tickets then when they walk in the door. But during the changeover, there's that lull where everybody's just kind of sitting around and chit-chatting. It's nice to have, but to keep the entertainment going a little bit, I'm thinking of I've got a few in mind. I need to approach them. A couple of solo artists to play in between changeover.
Yeah.
So they get a 2 and 3 song set between bands each changeover. So there's 2 changeovers, so they get a little showcase of their own, so they can, entertain and have people familiar with their music too, because I've been to a few open mic nights in the area and I've been impressed by a few people. I really have. It's not just Clem Cadiddlehopper that plays guitar in his mom's basement that comes out, but there's been some really, really good entertaining people.
Cool. It's very ambitious. Again, your sound man might hate you, but I mean, so what? You just and you have to have everyone play a tight ship. That's all. Like all the bands no one can mess around, and they shouldn't be anyways. I mean, but I'm sure you've had bands come out to your show and you've been disappointed or let down before. I'm sure you've had both ends of the spectrum where a band's come to do your show and you've been like, that's excellent. And I'm sure you've had it where you said, wow, I wish they were just a little bit more professional tonight.
Most of the bands, I would have to say a very large percentage of the bands have been very professional, regardless of, I know that sound.
Cheers. Cheers, mon ami. Cheers, mon ami.
No, they've been very professional and have been wanting to play, opening up the Kingston audience for them. They've been really, really good. I do have to say there's only been 1 or 2 lumps of coal, let's put it this way, in the bag. But I'm not going to mention any names. It's just,
of course not.
Unfortunately, they are all really good musicians. Attitude played a part in the experience. Let's put it that way for everybody.
It's huge. Attitude is everything. It possibly has defined the outcomes of wars and all kinds of things. Attitude is everything, man. People
and marriages.
I mean, oh boy. Woo!
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, so out of those bands, how you've had most of them back, right? Like you bring bands back again.
Duplicates, yeah, there have been a few. Well, Timmy, you guys, you've come back. Nighttime Drive is back for more, and Nighttime Drive is actually coming back to headline in September. I've had Vinyl Hero from Montreal a couple of times, so I've developed a small little clique in Montreal. So I've got some Montreal bands. Reached out to more Toronto bands, more into the progressive style, like a Dream Theater, Fate's Warning kind of a thing. I've got some bands from the States. There's a band that wants to play. I'm going to drop names right now. I've had Pyramid Theorem from Toronto play 3 shows for me. They're coming back at their own request. They want to do 1 more in October. They have booked it. They said, can we do 2 this year? He said, yes, you can. No problem. And I have a band in Central Illinois, from Pekin, Illinois, that they're called the Truth Council that are coming up. They are doing a one-off just to play with Pyramid Theorem in Kingston at my show.
Well, that's incredibly exciting.
It is.
And
It's gonna be awesome.
everyone I know that I talk to that has seen Pyramid Theorem has nothing but incredible things to say about them. Like I like they speaking so highly of them. I'm definitely gonna have to try and get them on the podcast and also get out to see a show of theirs because I've heard several people speak very highly of them.
Come to Kingston in October. Actually, I've got D-Rev opening the show.
Cool. And so your next show you said is in September?
September, yeah. September 21st.
And who's on that bill?
Nighttime Drive is headlining. My Own Addiction is in direct support. And Sunday Riot Club is opening.
Sweet. Yeah, that's cool.
Pretty good lineup. That's a pretty good lineup.
It's going to be pretty rocking. Absolutely.
Nighttime Drive is renting a bus again. They played the show last year. They rented a bus and bused 50 fans from the Cobourg-Oshawa area to the show at Overtime Sports Bar. And My Own Addiction is considering doing the same thing from Ottawa, a shuttle bus from Ottawa for fans, about 50 people for the bus.
Hey man, that's pretty cool. All I can say is no, don't be sorry. I had to give
it a plug. It sounded like a plug. Well, it is really a plug, but that's one of the things that I was impressed by the fact that the first time that Nighttime Drive played for me, they rented a bus just for their fans. They have that following that they can fill a bus full of people.
I was there that night, and it was great to see. And the thing is I just remember how hammered they got. So I mean, the bar was happy too. I mean, I think that's always part of the goal, right? Is you want the bar to also be happy on the night, and the bus doesn't hurt that because everyone knows they're not driving. But what kind of sucked for me was they kind of had to leave halfway through the Taming Sorry set because they were so hammered. And
that was the bus schedule itself. That was the driver. They were pretty hammered, but that was the scheduling of the bus company.
They were rowdy. They were a crazy crowd.
They were a great crowd. They were enjoying themselves. They were rambunctious. There was no physical confrontation of any kind whatsoever. Everybody was there to have a good time. They were rowdy, but they were having fun doing it. That was the best part about that.
We're going to have Nighttime Drive, at least one of them, maybe two of them, come talk to me in in a few days. And so we're going to talk about all their fans and, the energy that surrounds that band, which is fantastic in my opinion. And
they have a very big following. Very big following.
So much of everything is for a band is vibe. And what vibe you give off to people, if they can approach you, if they can talk with you, if they can feel fun feelings with you, like rock and roll feelings. And
they're all great guys. They're all great guys to hang out with, all of them. Every member of that band is a fantastic person. I agree that personally. Yeah,
I speak with them, and they're always great guys. So I agree. And the Sunday Riot Club guys, they're going to come on the show here as well. At least Alex Mayhew will, and I'm excited to talk to them. They've got a lot of energy that they're putting into the Ottawa scene, like a lot of energy. So I'm excited to talk to them. Let me kind of change topics a little bit.
Okay.
What were some of your all-time favorite concerts that you've been to?
I can say the number one favorite show that I ever saw was Dream Theater at the Capital City Music Hall, the old one down on Rideau Street.
Yeah, I've been there. I was there once before it closed down. Yeah.
And I saw Dream Theater on that same tour at Massey Hall. I drove to Toronto and saw them at Massey Hall with my brother, and they finished their tour, and it was a surprise addition. They added a few dates scattered throughout where they did tour. One of them was Capital Music Hall. So yeah, I saw Dream Theater in a bar downtown Ottawa. That was
That's
the Octavarium tour. Yeah, it was amazing, unbelievable. Sitting at the bar with a beer, I just turn around and go, "Could I get another beer, please? Thank you very much." And then watch the band. And, it was insane. Were you were in that old Capital City Music Hall?
Yeah, I went there for one show in my early 20s before it closed down. I remember the venue. I thought it was very cool, but it also felt very grungy and very Mad Max-ish by the time it was closing down. Like it had a bit of
Yeah,
that whole two go in, one comes out feeling.
especially
But
with the balcony railing and all of that up top. And yeah, yeah,
yeah. I went there to see some punk show. Like I think I saw Rise Against, and which was great because he did Swing Life Away, which is just such a big song for my generation, a sweet song. So I remember being there with my ex-girlfriend and oh, memories. Ooh. Yeah, so great.
I,
Many
I,
moons
I,
ago.
I always thought it was a very cool layout in there. That the stage was built in a recessed floor, like in a pit.
Yes.
So if you're
Yes. Oh,
like a guy like me sitting at the bar watching the band, I was looking over the top of all the standing room people's heads, and I could see the band perfectly. It was just
yeah. Yeah.
okay. This is designed absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. A lot of people have great memories moshing in that
Yeah,
pit.
yeah.
Um, there were some pretty heavy shows there towards the end. Um, so you said that you love Rush. So how many times did you see Rush live?
Five,
5. And
five
like
times. Yep.
Neil
Back
Peart's
in
the
the
best
day.
drummer.
Yeah, I think the last show was Moving Pictures at the Ottawa
Okay.
Civic Center. That was my
Mm.
last Rush show. I've seen Judas Priest 4 times. I've seen Queen twice. Yeah,
Where did you see Queen?
Civic Center, Ottawa Civic Center.
So my mom was probably there too. Because she wanted to get up front because for some I don't know why, but she had a crush on John Deacon. Now
Okay,
I don't get that at all. Like out of the dudes in that band, she had a crush on the guy who like didn't care to dress up, didn't care to put on much of a show of things. You know what I mean?
didn't care to be
Um,
there. Yeah,
no, not really. And in the end, when Freddie died, he was the one who said the band is done. Like it's not coming back. Like
yeah,
you'll never ever get me on stage again. But he gave them their blessing, of course, to bring
sure.
Adam Lambert or whoever. But yeah, so she wanted to get up front and got his picture, and she's, oh yeah, I thought he was great, and that's weird, but okay, like I guess that's okay. And so was Freddie like as amazing as the
Yeah.
world believes him to be?
Yes,
Yes.
he is absolute showman. He worked the audience and he played it well. Oh my God, he was just energy all over, back and forth over the stage. It was insane. Oh yeah, very
And
very impressive.
the backing vocals as well, and the what's the drummer's name? Gosh.
Roger Taylor.
Yeah, man. Like that must have been epic too. Like all the layers that those guys put in.
Yeah, the only thing that I was surprised at, and I was always curious as to how they were going to pull it off. I missed the Night at the Opera tour. I was at the Day at the Races tour and the News of the World. So at Day of the Races show, similar stage setup. It was an amazing light show. They did Bohemian Rhapsody. They did it live,
Ah, ha,
and
ha.
there were in the operatic part, you could tell, and they made no bones about it, or they didn't try to cover it up. There was some recorded areas of the operatic part, and that was just part of the show.
Those parts to me were likely like near impossible for them to hit live. It's like
Yeah,
one of those things where in the studio they likely had to go over and over and over and over again
no
to
doubt.
get that one note to make sense. And
Yeah,
that's something some maybe people aren't privy to, but I mean artists, they'll go to a lot, producers I should say will go to great lengths to get like the exact note that's in their mind. And sometimes that note is just out of reach for a vocalist, or it's just like not for Freddie, because Freddie sang 4 octaves. I don't think anybody's done that since. Like
No.
yeah. For me, I think I sing about 2.5 octaves, and that's if I'm like, if I'm pushing it, and if I'm shifting gears and really going
Yeah,
for it,
you could kick another half octave if you go falsetto.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I'm not a Bee Gees though. And funny story, actually many years ago in my 20s, my buddy, he paid $1,200 to have his demo listened to by Nick Blagona. And Nick Blagona, he produced Chicago, he produced the Bee Gees, he produced a lot of these bands of the day, and he loved the falsetto. And so he listened to the recording, and it was me singing in my early 20s, and he stopped the recording and he said, "You have to tell him to pull harder on his pee-pee. Pull harder on his pee-pee to hit those high notes. Okay? Tell him don't be afraid to, go into the high pitch, go into the falsetto if he has to." Like he literally went into that. And
That's
my friend
funny.
just
Oh
told
my
me
God.
that. And I said, that's cool. Like, I don't mind that Nick Blagona said I need to do these things to get better. It doesn't bother me. He's passed now, bless him. And yeah, he was a legend, obviously, so knew what he was talking about. But just thought that was funny.
That is very funny.
I have built up these funny connections to certain artists, either by one degree of separation or sometimes in person. But yeah, it's kind of fun. So Queen,
I want to go back.
Rush. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought. Queen, Rush, Judas Priest. I've seen Judas Priest like 4 times as well.
So Judas Priest, I mean, they're not my most favorite band personally, but when Breaking the Law comes on, I crank it full blast and I break the law. But that's about
stage show. I can't say lately. The last Judas Priest show I saw was in Vancouver. It was the Screaming for Vengeance tour. And I saw that show when it came through Ottawa, the Screaming for Vengeance show in Ottawa. And then I moved to BC. I moved to Vancouver in that process. And when I got there, Judas Priest was playing. So I went and saw Judas Priest again, the same tour. But the wall of amplifiers at the beginning of the stage is set up, the drum stage in the back. There's a wall of amplifiers, and you just hear the motorcycle rev. The amps open up, big cloud of smoke. Rob Halford rides his Harley onto the middle of the stage. That is just, the place just goes absolutely nuts. It was amazing each time.
That sounds incredibly epic. And again, I wish rock could get back to that place where the epic levels were off the charts, because that just sounds so cool. And I just had an idea as well for a future episode with you on here. We'll do it with Yannick Renaissance from Ornate.
Yep.
And we'll have him show you some different rap, and you'll go thumbs up or thumbs down. Like, and we'll get the Chris Gaines rap report, whether you're like, yeah, I could vibe to that, or you're like, no, that's not my style. Well, so that's a future episode.
It's not just the rap portion of the program. It's the electronic accompaniment that really takes away from any talent whatsoever. Let's put it that way. Yannick is great with Ornate because there's a band behind him. It's not some guy. Right. It's not some guy playing a record that he's singing to. That's why I call it karaoke. It's karaoke as far as I'm concerned. You got a record and a guy going wiki 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 with the. Okay, that's not music. That you're playing with your stereo. So get a guitar, a drummer, and a bass player.
Did anyone ever tell you before, Chris, that you're opinionated?
No, not to my face. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Well, that's good because everyone's allowed to have one, right? We're all allowed to feel what we feel about music. That's what's great about it. Like music can make us.
I don't pull any punches. I really try to tell it like it is.
I think that's fair.
No, without intent of certainly not trying to piss people off, but
okay,
it does. Sometimes there's something. It's something they don't want to hear in there. Okay, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but nobody's told you before.
I love some well, I love a lot of hip hop and rap, but that's the thing about me is
Sure.
I took dance class when I was a young man, and I went to jazz, tap, and ballet. And so there really is like no type of music that you will see me not vibe. I also had African dance class when I was in
Mhm.
theater school in Toronto.
Cool.
So like I love it all. You know what I mean? And one day I hope to show you, get you into some Biggie Smalls or get you into some Tupac or something. We'll see. Well, maybe we're gonna get you hip hop and we'll see, Chris. But
You never
if
know.
not,
I'm open.
if
I'm
I'm
open
okay
to
if
at
not
least
to.
listen. I'm open
I'll
to at
still be
least.
your friend.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I always tell people. Even if I don't like it, I'll at least try to listen to it. Like
I
I'm
won't
one of those
Facebook
guys.
block you.
I'm one of those guys that'll go to a live show and everybody in the audience is going, Jesus Christ, these guys suck. And they really, unfortunately, are not doing very well or having a bad night or they're just not good together. You pick out that guitarist is really good, then that drummer's not bad, blah, blah, blah. So they're not melding as a group, but they made the trouble of putting together an EP. It's like, okay, even if it's a horrible EP, I'll go and buy it just because they went to the trouble of recording it and putting it out there. They got their artwork done. They've made copies of it. Here's my $10. Thank you. I've got a shelf. I've got a shelf full of CDs that I've never listened to because of just these bands. But everybody goes, "Oh, who's this?" And then every once in a while, you run into them or hear them or whatever like that, and you see them playing another show. So they're doing something and support. It's just give them some support.
Yeah, no, and you've been fantastic at that. I mean, the music community in not just Kingston, not just Ottawa, not just Toronto, but all around that area, the bands owe you. They owe you, man. Like
No,
a big thank you and a big props, and you know, you get it from me. You have all the respect in the world from me for what you do for the music community,
I appreciate
and
that, but it's not about me. It's not about
I
me at all.
know you
The
said that.
people are there.
You've
Yeah,
said that before because you're a
people are
good
here to
dude.
see the bands. It's the bands. You guys are the talent. You guys are the showcase. The bands that are on stage are what's important. I'm not important. That's why I don't make any money.
Well, there we are again. This is a reoccurring topic on our show here on the All Worn Out podcast, and perhaps why I am all worn out. Um, how does one make money in today's music industry, in today's music business, and who should make money? And that's the other
Uh,
question.
the
And
bands,
I
the bands
believe
need to make the money. The
I
bands,
believe that promoters do too. You know, it's something we have to figure out and get the grassroots level bopping again. And also, we need to get more Canadians proud of Canadians.
yes,
Um, we are a small nation of people, like numbers wise,
yeah,
and we need to support each other. And look, when it's absolutely absurd that, you know, a Canadian like Justin Bieber never ever would have been heard of if it wasn't for an American to swoop him out of the country. And, you know, people wouldn't have heard of Alanis Morissette if people didn't come and swoop her out of the country, or Shania Twain, or, you know, Brian Adams, and so on and so forth. And a lot of these brilliant artists, they could have grown here. I mean, look at Dallas Green and the way he was treated by Gord Downey, as Gord passing the torch on to him as a great Canadian vocalist and songwriter before he left, and how Dallas, you know, he's beloved here now and should be. And I'd just like to see more of that, you know, a
right,
little more
right,
pride in our local artists, because the quality of talent is, as you can attest to, it's
yeah.
getting there now. It's like we can all record it in a good
Well,
studio. We can all record with
it's
someone.
always been there. Talent level, personally believe that it's always been there. It just hasn't been given enough recognition. Um, there's over the last number of years, there's been business involved, too much business involved. Like you said, promoters need to make money. I don't think promoters need to make as much money as they do. That's why I choose not to. All I want to do is not lose money. Okay. All of the money that comes in the door from pre-sales and from sales of online tickets and everybody that walks in the door and pays their admission goes to the bands. It costs me personally not very much money to organize and put together a show because all of the graphics are done in-house. All of the commercials are done in-house. All the videos are done in-house. The only thing I don't do is physically print the posters and the tickets. That's it. I farm that out. So I got printer fees. I have my staff, my team that I work with to maybe buy them a couple of beers during the night. So I have a break-even point, which is very, very small. So anything over and above that completely goes to the bands. And sometimes if I feel guilty that it's not enough money, I'll dig into my own pocket and give them a little bit more. So I don't mind doing that because they're traveling all this way. They're putting their effort and their talents on a stage for everyone to enjoy. So basically, I'm just putting on a big party and letting everybody have fun.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. There's a few promoters that I know, and you guys all sound alike. You guys are doing this for the community. There's a few of you. I was going to ask you if you're going to ever put on. Are you going to do a festival one year? Are you going to try?
I was going to do one this year. I didn't plan it early enough to get all the logistics done in time. I'd need to build a stage. It was going to be an invitation only, and it would be out here at my farm, out in the yard.
Sweet.
It was going to be August 17th, and it would be a 1-day Saturday only. And my place is huge, so there would be camping available. I'm thinking of doing it next year. Let's see what happens next August. But there's areas to camp. It'll still be invitation only. I'll have some barbecues set up. I will solicit businesses for free food for everyone, like burgers and hot dogs. So everybody take a turn at the barbecue and cook dinner for your fellow patrons, or bring a potato salad and share it or whatever. It's going to be something like that. I don't need vendors. The only thing I would probably need is a couple of porta potties. I could contract that out, throw them in the laneway. But I was going to call it Farmageddon.
I would play Farmageddon. Yeah. I would play Farmageddon. Yes, that sounds pretty epic, Chris.
It would be a 1-day thing, so I'd have probably 8 to 10 bands, local stuff too, local guys as well. So there'd be some acoustics, there'd be some, full band stuff, but that would progress during the day. So it would be entertaining, to say the least, and it'd be a lot of fun.
Sounds amazing, and I think you should definitely look into doing that next year. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like to see people enjoying themselves.
Well, there you go. And when you put these shows on, that's exactly what you're doing. And when you put these shows on, you're artistically building it. You're looking at it. You're saying, this is my set. This is where I want this to present first. Then I want this to come. So there is an art to what you're doing. And I think you've gotten quite good at it. And I think you're only going to keep getting better at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just think it's taking the burden off of the bands. Here's a place that you can come and play. All of the legwork's being done. You really don't have to think much about, door and setup and blah, blah, blah. Like merch tables over there. You could set that up, whatever. You guys don't have to worry about any of the logistics of the event or anything else going on. You come in, bring your gear, sound check, have an amazing show, have fun, and the crowd will be on your side as long as you enjoy yourself and work them, and they'll always be happy.
Yeah, I feel fortunate that I actually, in one way, there's stories of bands back in the 70s getting, stuff thrown at them getting booed off stage, things like that. And I haven't really witnessed much of that during my 15 years on stage playing music, fortunately. But at the same time, that passion level would be really something to see come back.
I don't know, the throwing of the beer bottles. I haven't seen a chicken wire stage since I lived in Texas, and that was in the 80s. So that was in Dallas. I lived in Dallas, and yes, the stage was covered with chicken wire so beer bottles wouldn't hit the musicians. Yes.
Oh
Actually,
man, I would.
was in one of those. It was stupid. It was way stupid. It was hilarious.
Oh man, I would definitely love that. Um, all right, well, Chris Gaines of Barn Burner Events, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today on All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music, music creation. It's about hockey. It's about what you're passionate about. And today, talking with Chris was a lot of fun. And so I hope you
My
will
pleasure.
give Chris some love, get on there and say thank you to Chris if he's done a show for you. And hey, if you're looking for a show, reach out and see if you can't catch his interest. I mean, the songs better be good. That's all I can say. Yeah, they better be good. But again, thank you so much.
Can
And
I just go
hopefully we'll
back
see
to
you.
something real quick? Can I just go back to
Yeah,
something?
sure. Yeah.
Right at the beginning, we talked. You mentioned when we first met. It's about 5 years ago or so. When we first met, we met by accident. Actually, you and I met by accident, and that was at the Toucan. You guys were playing at the Toucan, and I was there to see another band. I showed up because I didn't know who you guys were, and I showed up to see you're playing with the Crooked. And I
I love those guys. Yeah, good
JC
guys.
Sandoval and the Crooked.
Yeah.
And you guys, that's how you and I met. And I met you and Alex at the time. We chatted for quite a while. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Then it spun from there, from the radio show, and you gave me the website, and the songs came out, and the airplay came, and yeah. Now it's just
in short.
awesome.
Get out there, folks. Play other cities. Meet people like Chris Gaines, and who knows?
Kiss
Good
some
things
hands
can happen.
and shake some babies. Yeah.
Yeah, do it. Get out there. Thanks again so much, everybody. My name is Warren Meredith. This is Chris Gaines with me today, and you've been watching All Worn Out. And we'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.